Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far and welcome to today's video where we need to talk, or I need to talk at least, about Baby Reindeer. Not only is this one of the most fascinating programs that I have seen on Netflix in recent years, but what has gone on the internet since it aired is even more bizarre. We need to talk about it. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, I know what you're thinking, Charlotte, this is not makeup. We don't care about this, but I do, okay? And I have no one to talk to about this because I watched this on my own without my husband. I didn't really know what this was going to be about. I just saw it being, really talked about online, and it was really high up at the time. I don't think it was number one on Netflix, but it was high up. And I just thought, I think it was a 6-parter. I can manage that. I started watching it while, each day while I was doing my makeup, and oh my goodness, it was a journey, a roller coaster of events, let's say, but I watched it on my own. And so I've been trying to talk to my husband about this, but he has no idea what I'm talking about and what is going on the internet since the series aired. Real life is stranger than fiction, or equal to in this case, and I need to talk about that. And he doesn't even know what happened in the program. So what happened after, he's completely lost and he doesn't care and he doesn't understand the gravity of the situation. So I need to talk to you guys about it, okay? So that's what we're going to do. Now, if you have been living under a rock or you just haven't watched Baby Reindeer yet on Netflix, you must, okay? I feel like it's actually a very important series. I think that it's a very hard watch, it's a very difficult watch, but there are some really important topics, especially when it comes to men, mental health, and the fact that they can be victims too, I think is a really important message. I think that there is also a lot of important warnings and things to be aware of and think about as well for all of us covered in that program. I don't want to give too many spoilers away, and I don't want to say anything that's going to get me sued or that is going to get me stalked by any of the people involved in this program. So I am going to be a little careful as to what I say and the names that I'm using, okay, for obvious reasons as we go along. I also don't want to use any words or say anything that is going to get my video taken down by YouTube or hidden or buried or like restricted. So hence why there's certain things I'm not going to say or talk about in the video, you understand. But you do need to know a vague idea of what the series is about to understand what has been happening since, because it's a lot. So the Baby Reindeer series on Netflix centers around the main character, Donnie, who is an aspiring comedian at the time, working in a pub, but working nights in comedy clubs, gigging wherever he can, trying to carve out a career as a comedian. Now, Donnie is played by Richard Gadd, who is a real life comedian, and Baby Reindeer is the true life story of a period of his life, of his career, a time of his life. It is the real true story that he wrote himself, and he stars in it as himself. He just changed to a fictional name. He also changed all of the other characters to fictional names in the series to try and protect their identities and his own sanity and safety, I would assume. So a lot goes on. You really need to watch it yourself to understand, really everything that happens throughout the series. The bit that I want to focus on is Martha, the Martha character. So during this period of Richard's life, he comes across a character that in the series he called Martha. Obviously that was not her real life name, but in the series this woman is referred to as Martha. That's her name in Baby Reindeer. So he meets Martha as a sort of chance encounter one day, and she starts off as a pretty harmless, slightly bonkers, eccentric, colourful character. Immediately when he starts chatting and getting to know Martha, as she comes into his pub every day, he just thinks she's a little bonkers, and she does seem to lie a lot. So for example, she is telling him that she's a high-flying, very rich, wealthy, working with, the top politicians in the country, lawyer, but he pretty quickly disbelieves this, as she's literally sitting in the pub all day, every day, and her use of language and spelling and all of that sort of thing does not really indicate that she's a really highly educated, high-performing lawyer, but this is the story that she goes along with, and it starts off as a bit of a, you know, mismatched friendship, and he, you know, finds her really endearing and very funny, and he likes being around her. But things do quite quickly take a turn, and Richard does admit himself that some of his behaviours and his choices definitely kind of contributed to what happened next. But Martha essentially becomes obsessed with Richard, or Richard's character Donnie in the series. Donnie and Richard, same person, okay? It's confusing, I know. But the Martha character quickly becomes obsessed with Richard, and it develops into very much a stalking relationship that gets more and more serious and terrifying as the series goes along. She is bombarding him with literally thousands of emails, and it escalates to her literally waiting outside his house all day, every day, just to shout stuff at him. Now, she has a very interesting sort of style of communication, Martha. There's this joke throughout that every message she sends to Richard throughout the show, it's ended with "sent from my iPhone," but she quite often spells iPhone wrong. So that's kind of one of the eccentricities about this woman, is that she, you know, her spelling and her use of language is quite bizarre, and she goes from one extreme to another. I guess like a lot of those sort of relationships, or the way that these people communicate, she'll go from like loving him and adoring him and thinking that they're in a relationship, to screaming and shouting abuse and hatred and vitriol towards him. And it goes back and forth like that. She also goes off on lots of rants a lot of the time about various other things, and she has quite, you know, a short fuse. She can flip from one personality to the next. So this is the Martha character throughout the series, and that is, you know, there is a lot of other stuff and other horrendous things that go on in Baby Reindeer, but I want to talk about Martha because the internet has found real life Martha, or so it is widely believed. Now, Richard himself said that he changed, you know, lots of details, all the names and appearances, and he tried his best to hide the true identities of all of the characters in Baby Reindeer. But the internet in 2024, that's just not going to cut it, is it? I have seen the detective work people can do on social media these days should not be underestimated, okay? Now, I'm going to say allegedly and think, because like I said, I don't want to get sued. But here's how they did it. All of the sort of stalking and the events of the Baby Reindeer series happened like a good sort of 10 years ago, okay, around that period. People went through Twitter, and you know, if you go on to X, sorry, formerly known as Twitter, if you go on there and you go and search, you know, Richard Gadd's name, basically every tweet involving Richard Gadd or tweeted at him, it will come up. And if you keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling some more, you will eventually get back 10 years, okay? So people literally did this. When the series aired, they went through thousands of tweets back to the period of time when we know all of this was when it happened, which is, again, easy to find out because, you know, Richard in the series talked about shows that he did, places he was, and the year. So we know when roughly it was. And they found a load of tweets. This is, I think, how they started to track down the woman that people widely believe on the internet is the real life Martha. So initially they found on Twitter or X tweets towards Richard that sounded like the sort of tweets that Martha would make. So lots sort of talking as if they're friends, asking him to call me back, I've left you voicemails. And that was something that very much happened in the series. Martha was leaving him hundreds and hundreds of voicemails that he was obviously ignoring. He, you know, did go to the police eventually and asked for like a restraining order. Apparently in the series, she was actually arrested, sent to prison eventually, but that didn't happen in real life. So as far as I am understanding, in real life, Richard never had her charged and arrested, and she never actually went to jail for stalking him, but that did happen in the series. So there are some things that, you know, were sort of inflated or exaggerated for the series, we do know that. But these tweets were very much along the lines of what we saw in the series. So the way that they were worded, the over familiarity and the talking to him as if we're friends, and him not replying or interacting with them, and also just some strange wording and some ranting and things like that. So people found this person's account on Twitter, and this led them to a second account from that same person on Twitter, which led them to a Facebook account. And this woman, like I said, I'm not going to say her name, but she very much does have a similar appearance to the actress who played Martha in the Baby Reindeer series. Her whole Facebook profile is public, and it's still public against all odds now. I went on this morning to sort of see what was going on there this morning when thinking of making this video, and it's still public. She's turned off comments, I believe, on her post, so people can't comment, but I can see her entire Facebook page. She hasn't gone private yet, which is, you know, fair play to her. She's obviously braver than me. Within a few days of this airing, people had found this woman's Facebook account and started bombarding her with messages about it. I don't know if this is really the real life Martha or not. A lot of people are starting to think that she's like a plant and it's, you know, fake, and it's all to sort of publicize the series. But this Facebook account, it's not new. It didn't just pop up 6 months ago. It's years old, and you can scroll through, and this person has been posting like this for years. So that doesn't seem realistic to me, unless he's been planning this for like 20 years and this person made this Facebook account 10, 15 years ago in order to prepare for such events. It seems like a genuine account. Whether or not this is really who it's based on, I don't know, but some of these posts certainly seem to indicate that the internet has got it right. Now, initially, when this person started being contacted and told, oh, are you the real Martha? We found you. Why did you do these things? And who knows what kind of messages she's getting. I'm sure they're not pleasant, I'll say that. But initially, when she started receiving these communications off the back of the Baby Reindeer series airing, she had posted basically denying, saying everybody is crazy, this is not me, I don't know what you're talking about. But very much like the Martha character in Baby Reindeer, she goes back and forth and contradicts herself constantly. This is the first post that, as far as I can find, on her Facebook talking about the Baby Reindeer situation and whether or not she was the real life Martha. Can I just reiterate to Richard Gadd's followers, I am not Martha, I am her real name. I have been informed by various different sources this morning that Richard Gadd's supporters are still attacking me online. I am nothing to do with his infernal plays. I am not Martha. I can't access my DMs just now. My other phone broke 3 weeks ago. I have limited access to anything on this phone, and that is the truth. I don't fantasize and make up stories. I am, however, seeing death threats to me and unwelcome posts on my account from Richard Gadd's supporters. By the way, there's not a full stop or a comma in sight throughout any of these 400 sentences. All of these names and comments from people I don't know are being sent to police and lawyers. I am keeping a list. I have been told Mr. Gadd has appealed to his crazed fans to leave a number of people alone. I don't think that's his intention at all. I think he'd do anything to drum up publicity for a show no normal person will be watching. The word sick twists comes to mind. Just leave me alone. Most of us lead normal lives and want to live in peace. Writers write real works of fiction. This is a feeding frenzy about a show based on ridiculing people, particularly women. It's misogynistic, vile, intimidating. How am I to know if the stalkers online are real stalkers who beat and women? I frankly don't know that. Richard Gadd could have written a play about anything. Maybe he should write a play about how many times people in Camden have wanted the Hawley Arms where he worked shut down because of male violence and intimidation. I am also told this morning the man he claimed him, or rather the man fans assume Richard, was subjected to similar abuse and he was hounded. I was initially sympathetic and thought Gadd had been. I just have no evidence either way. I don't know Richard Gadd. I would, however, say his fans are worse than Russell Brand's with their sick, twisted fantasies. So that was the first message that I can see on her page that she wrote in response to being named or suspected as the real life Martha. You'll notice in there that she says, I do not know this man. I don't know anything about him. She basically claims not to know about him. In her next post, however, she went on to claim that he has been obsessed with her for years and that he actually stalked her. She also then goes on to say that very many times that she has not watched Baby Reindeer. She knows nothing about it, but then continues to reference what the actress looks like. She is very highly offended at the appearance of the actress who she thinks is playing her, and she goes back and forth between whether or not she's watched it or not, saying she's never watched it, she doesn't know anything about it, but yet talks about very many moments throughout the series. She then will say she's never met Richard Gadd, she doesn't know anything about him, she's never heard of him, to then list, talking about his dad, where he went to university, the courses he did at university, where he worked, his friends, etc, etc, etc. So everything reads, the length of that first, she has, I even struggled to find it because she's been posting about 40 times a day, those types of really long, threatening everybody who's contacting her with legal action, talking about the police, talking about keeping screenshots of everybody who's messaging her and sending lists to the police, etc, etc, etc. And then she descended into just ripping Richard Gadd to pieces, calling him every name under the sun, threatening him, threatening Netflix, threatening the actress who plays Martha for some reason. And she has essentially taken a very big leap off the deep end. And all of this is extremely bizarre, but really, really concerning to me. I think, the internet trial by social media is one of the most alarming things about social media that I've seen in recent years. It started off when I heard about the Idaho 4 case and the things that people were speculating about and talking as though factually correct about on social media, about this ongoing, very, very recent real crime investigation, and people were literally trying to solve it and slandering people online and just making up an entire scenarios around it based on going back and forth on social media. And that was really concerning to me. I also noticed it during the Nicola Bulley case here in the UK. I'm not sure how globally known that case was or how much it was publicised outside of the UK, but that was the case of a missing mother who vanished out of thin air while walking her dog, and it was a huge search for her for many, many days before she was found. And again, the online speculation around that case, around her family members, her sister, her husband, was appalling online, and just true works of fiction based on nothing. And it's really alarming when it comes to very serious, real legal issues, what people are doing and saying and getting involved in social media. When I first watched Baby Reindeer, before all of this social media harassment of people believed to be the characters from the show, before that started happening, I was already really concerned about this, because having watched the series, this woman, in the series, she was sent to prison for 4 years, I think, at the end. Not a long time. We all know she probably got out in 1 to 2 years in reality, if that's how long she was sentenced for. And it really concerned me because this was someone who very clearly had really serious mental health issues and struggles. And she truly believed that her and Richard, or Donnie in the series, were in a relationship, and she really believed that, and she really had a lot of mental health issues. What she actually really needed was psychological help to deal with that. And whatever Donnie in the show tried to do to be upfront with her, to be mean to her, to ask her to go away, to go to the police, to take out restraining orders, whatever Donnie tried to do just was water off a duck's back. It didn't get through, it's not penetrating. And for me, I was really concerned, like if that was me, and I'd finally got free of this person who had plagued my life for years, ruined my life, lost me work, lost my partner through all of this, lost my family were being harassed as well, terrible things happening to everyone I know because this person won't leave me alone, is obsessed with me. The last thing on this earth I'm going to do once I finally got rid of them is to make a series all about them and put it on international television. And I do understand this is very much his story to tell, and so I get why he wanted to tell the story, and he has every right to do that. But I did fear for Richard, because I just thought, this is like waving this big old flag, Martha, come back and harass me again. That's what it felt like to me. I just sort of thought, oh, if she's forgotten all about you and moved on and forgotten you exist and she's leaving you alone, I'm not sure this was the right choice for you. I'm not sure this was the way to go, because I just feel like you're massively getting her attention again, which is not a good idea for anybody, not good for Martha and not good for Richard, because I just felt like it was like saying, hi, here I am. You might have forgotten about me, but hello, come back and stalk me again. That's what the series I felt like was going to do for the real life Martha, and that looks like that's exactly what's happened. The other side to this is whether or not this woman that has been named on social media really is the woman that the Martha character was based on is kind of irrelevant at this point, because this woman, who has now, like I said, gone away and left Richard alone for years, apparently, is now being fully harassed and stalked herself and threatened and sent death threats on a literally imagine the size of the stalking that this woman is now experiencing. Thousands and thousands of people out of nowhere, and who knows the work she may have done to move on over the years from those behaviours, from that very toxic interaction that she was having with Richard that started off very much as a sort of a casual friendship. She in some way has moved on, has been leaving him alone, has started living her life, only for 10 years later this show to come along and completely destroy all of that work that she may have been doing, all of that moving on that she may have been doing. And that is a disaster for everybody, for the real life Martha and undoubtedly for Richard Gadd. She has gone fully off the deep end. The messages that she is posts that she is making are very concerning and alarming, and the frequency of them, she's gone straight back to 10 years ago, and that's really concerning and really disappointing. I just feel like, I'm sure Netflix are not stupid. I'm sure they did their due diligence and they've made sure that they are covered legally, that no one can sue them before they are putting a show, that they knew, you know, they well and truly knew that that was a true life story with real people, just with some, you know, names and things changed. They knew what they were dealing with, so I'm sure they would have covered themselves from any real legal ramifications. But the social media users who are naming this person, who are defaming this person and dragging her name onto the internet really without any actual proof, just based on the style of her communications and the fact that she had tweeted about him around that sort of period of time, it's a very loose association, and you absolutely can really go to real life court and possibly even prison for doing exactly what thousands of people are doing on the internet right now, naming this person as a fact, this is her, stating that it's her, and harassing her online. All of this is just horrifying to me. This woman needs to be left well alone. You know, the Martha character in Baby Reindeer was actually pretty seriously dangerous and very scary. Some of the things that went on were not a joke. They were really terrifying, really frightening, and who knows where it would have led if it hadn't been stopped when it was. And now literally hundreds and thousands of people, even like teenagers, are, you know, communicating with this woman online. And I think, do you want to be next? Like, what are we doing, guys? What are we doing? And while with her communication style, the messages and the back and forth contradicting of herself and going from one extreme to another, very much it's like she's self-confirming it's me. And she's even talking about herself and Martha interchangeably in her posts now, and she's very much confirming we are the same person and saying, you know, that it is her, whether or not she's just been pushed to believe or know that it is her that he made the show about, or whether she knows it is me, I did do these things. I don't really know. Whether she's just been gaslighted into thinking and assuming and accepting I'm Martha because everyone is telling me that I am. Who knows? But this is not someone who needs to be bullied and harassed and stalked and threatened on the internet. This is someone with really serious mental health issues who, you know, Richard was not her first person to have an issue with. There were several other people before Richard had an issue with this woman in real life who had reported her to the police for similar behaviours. This is not someone to tease and prod and poke if it is the real life Martha. And if it isn't, this innocent woman who, again, clearly also has really serious mental health issues and struggles, is being harassed by millions of strangers online right now. None of this is okay. I mean, this is something that is really, we should be more aware of, because this is our present and it's developing all the time. You know, the first sort of cases, really big crime cases that happened while social media and especially the Clock app is such a big thing, and it's so instant that as soon as a crime happens, everyone is talking about it on the social media platforms, and people are literally turning up to crime scenes and searching themselves for missing people. That's how unhinged, and posting it live on the internet. You know, the police, when they were looking for Nicola Bulley, had to cordon off an entire village because people were turning up with cameras to like live stream, we're gonna find her ourselves, and like breaking into people's property, searching for her. It's only a matter of time before there are some really serious real world consequences for the people who are doing this and who are engaging in this kind of behaviour and conversations online and talking about people as if they factually know that they are guilty of a crime before anyone has even been accused of a crime, and naming them and videoing them and stalking them. These people, this is going to really start to become something that has very real legal, real world consequences very soon, because it's becoming such a big issue online. We already know people, you know, can be arrested for online harassment and trolling, and there are some real life consequences for that. I really just want us to think about what we're engaging with online, because it's really, this is really scaring me. I'm scared for Richard as to, you know, what bear he may have poked or what cauldron of ingredients he has now stirred back up in his own life, but also all of the people who are engaging with this real life person online. I'm scared as to where that is going as well. And I'm also very concerned for this person who needs help and not harassment, as to where that will end up also. And we're all just watching this and it's like a real life sideshow. And it's actually really serious and really scary. And it's not a joke. A lot of people think this is really funny that this woman is on Facebook and we're all reading her post and it's hilarious. It's actually really quite scary. And I'm concerned for people who are engaging with her, and I'm also concerned for her herself and her own well-being. It's horrifying to me. What do you guys think? Have you watched the Baby Reindeer series? I'd love to know what you thought about it. I also want to know if you have seen all of this drama kicking off, the naming of people, not just Martha, but the other terrible, appalling characters that were in that show have all also been tracked down and named online. What do you guys think? What do you think of this? Do you think that trial-based social media is the quickest way to get justice? Do you think it's terrifying? Do you think that this is a very slippery slope like I do? Please let me know your thoughts on this situation in the comment section down below. My head has been spinning ever since. It's becoming more and more alarming as time goes on, but it's like a train wreck and I almost like can't look away. Like I don't know what is going to happen, but I'm gravely concerned about what is going to happen. And as lots of people online are saying, it looks like there's going to be a series 2 right around the corner. But thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope you enjoyed this video and I would love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.